Warning, the following contains content intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Alright, what's up peeps? And welcome to Skyrim with me, your host, Zad19. We're just standing here, staring at a very sexy, Skyrimified Kreed, with all of his fantastic gear and so on. I'm going to warn you right now, this is the explanation video. I'm going to explain the various mods I have installed, the things that I've done to set up for this series, and all that fun stuff. No actual gameplay is going to be in this video. The next video is the one where all the gameplay will be. So if you just want to skip this and get right to the action, go for it. Otherwise, welcome. Let's go ahead and turn off free cam so I can show my inventory and all that fun stuff. Zoom in. Alright, now I've got a whole bunch of really fun stuff I gotta go over for this. Firstly, let's go back to staring at Kreed. I'm gonna quickly list off the different mods that I have installed. There's 50 of them, 51 of them. 2 of them are of my own creation, and one of them is not going to make any difference for this, so yeah. But anyways, it's I have glowing ore veins, Skyrim community uncapper. Also, if you want to get any of these mods, there's a full list in the description, including links to all the different mods. Be careful, one of them is not safe for work, just so you know. Caliente's Beautiful Bodies Edition. I'm using the curvy, never nude version of that mod. As I said, 18 plus. Careful what you do. Sky UI, a quality world map, proper length arrows, You Are Not the Dragonborn, Tendo's Skyrim Redone, unlimited wood work and mining, alternate start, live another life, better vampires, Apache Sky Hair, Cloaks of Skyrim, Caliente's vanilla outfits, curvy, immersive patrols, expanded towns and cities, Apophysis, dragon priest masks, better fast travel, apocalypse magic, immersive armors, left-hand rings, training dummies and targets, run for your life, Skyrim immersive creatures, immersive weapons, high elf skin tones. That's how Kreed has a pale skin as an Altmer. Hunterborn, unique uniques. Show race menu pre-cache killer. That's a utility mod that prevents the game from crashing immediately upon loading because of the weird stuff that I have going on. Oh hey, nice cinematic camera. Bounty gold. Timing is everything. No starting spells. That gets rid of healing and flames. Mine directory, that's just a book that tells where all the different mines in Skyrim are. It's not really used for this playthrough, but it's one I have installed, so if you see it, it's in there. I Need, the food, water, and sleep edition. Skyrim Better Roads. Papyrus utility, that's another utility mod. It helps things run a little smoother in the background. Imperious Races, Deathwing, the 8K texture reskin for Alduin. Basically, it makes him look like Deathwing from World of Warcraft, and I figure if Kreed ever happens to see him, he'll appreciate it. He shouldn't, but if he does, it'll be appreciated. New Beginnings, which is an expansion for Live Another Life. Unofficial Skyrim Legendary Edition patch. World's Dawn, which adds enchanted loot and RPG attributes to Skyrim. I'm not really going to use it that much, but we'll see some of it with enemies having enchanted weapons or having better armor than expected. Lynn's Mer Eyes, or Lynn's Elven Eyes. Really cool. It's how Kreed has these ice blue eyes, even though he's an Altmer. Better Stealing. It's a neat little mod that makes it so that if no one witnesses you stealing, it's not marked stealing in your inventory. so you won't have that item taken away if you're taken to jail or something. Andromeda, unique standing stones of Skyrim. No enchanting restrictions. 2K elemental eyes. It's another eyes mod that I have installed. It's just one of those things. Immediate dragons. Ordinator perks. Trade and barter. Hearthfire edition. Skyrim script extender, which is how all of this is possible to begin with. As well as ego weapons, which is my own personal creation. It's not going to be showed in this mod and in this series at all because it's its own thing. And then I've got Kreed's gear and spells, which are also a custom mod that I made specifically for this series. It's a whole bunch of custom armor, custom weapons, custom abilities, custom spells. Great things. Great things will happen. But yeah, that's all the mods I have installed. If you want to see the full list, it's down below. Download what you want, so on and so forth. Kreed's mods are never going to be... Kreed's mod is never going to be on the Nexus, but ego weapons will at some point. So maybe I'll show it off. Who knows? But let's go in the inventory and let's take a look at the unique armor and weapon first. This is all really simple stuff. I just made it in like a couple of hours. But basically, Death Knight armor, it's just ebony armor with custom enchants, increases health by 200, increases armor rating by 100, increases heavy armor skill by 100, and health regeneration by 75%. The boots increases stamina by 200, stamina regen by 75%, sneaking by 100, and also muffled. Death Knight circlet, which for some reason doesn't actually show up on him. I think I screwed up somewhere in that mod, so I might fix it off camera. I totally did. I know exactly what I did wrong. When I was making the mod, I made the circlet specific for wood elves, so it's not using the correct model for the head because he's an Altmer. Anyways, this boosts magicka by 200. Destruction spells cost 75% less. Magicka regenerates 75% faster and increases speech skill by 25. Death Knight gauntlets, two-handed attacks deal 100% more damage. You can block 100% more with your shield. That works with blocking with a two-handed weapon too. It says shield, it works with two-handed weapons. And then the Death Knight necklace, which boosts fire resist, shock resist, and armor rating by 25. And finally his sword, which is a unique Daedric greatsword that has a base damage of 100, its weight is 10, its attack speed is 1.0, which is faster than a normal greatsword. It also has a permanent enchantment on it, which never runs out, where targets take 60 points of frost damage to health and stamina, and they take 60 points of poison damage for 30 seconds upon being hit. Plus, all creatures and people below level 120 will flee from combat for 30 seconds if they survive getting hit, which they really shouldn't, considering it does 622 damage with all of his perks and stuff. So this should be a one-shot kill for most of the bandits that I come across. Now, some of them have like ebony or freaking Daedric armor that I come across. They might survive getting hit once, but it's pretty much going to be a one-shot with this weapon for most cases. Also, the letter from Master is custom made for me. I'll open that in the actual gameplay. But it's just a list of the different bandit camps throughout Skyrim. It's like 29 different locations, including one that is actually unknown to most people, Pine Watch. Pine Watch is one of the largest interior cells in the game, and it's not listed when you look up bandit locations in Skyrim, which is hilarious because it's a bandit den. But yeah, that's his armor. Onto his magic spells. Oh god, it would just be easier to look at the spells. Alright, so his first spell is Frost Javelin. It's a Spear of Ice. It's a It's an edited icy spear, which is the advanced form of ice spike. Basically, it does all that fun stuff, plus doing a lot of poison damage too. And it's an instant cast. So, oh, I don't have it favorited yet. Ah, man. And it can be dual casted. It's beastly, and I love it. I don't know if any of you could actually read those numbers, so I'm just going to say it out loud. It makes a spear of ice that does 214 damage, frost damage to health and stamina on impact, and it also does 107 points of poison damage over 30 seconds per time it hits. So, yeah, it's very strong. There are very few enemies that can survive getting hit by that, and I think they are dragons. It also ignores frost resistance, so yeah, frost and poison resistance gets ignored by this weapon, or this spell. His other spell is actually a lesser power called Frost Nova. Basically, I took the Blizzard spell and I added, I upped its magnitude by 5, so it's more powerful than the normal Blizzard, but I also decreased its duration to 10 seconds, but now it can be set to the Z button, which is your shout button, and you can activate it for, whatever, with no cast time, and it just creates a blizzard around you that throws enemies down. It sometimes freezes them. It does damage to them over time. It's really neat. It's kind of a nerfed blizzard, but with some of the perks that are added in with Ordinator's perks, it becomes pretty overpowered, considering there's a 4% chance whenever I attack an enemy with my greatsword, Frost Nova will just activate on its own. It's so fun. Yeah, those are the two modded spells that I made for him. Then he, of course, has Highborn, with Imperious Races. He just regenerates his magicka faster for 60 seconds. It's a small power. And now onto his magic effects. This is such a messed up list that I'm going to sort it by source and just go on down. The first of the things is something I made for him as part of Kreed's prep mod. Death Knight. Being a Death Knight from WoW has made Kreed immune to frost damage. He is basically 100% immune to frost damage here in Skyrim because of this. I talked about all of the enchantments that are on his gear. Now let's talk about the other two abilities that I added. I've got Master's Blessing 1 and 2. Master's Blessing 1, Master decided you get plus 25% health, magic, and stamina regeneration. Be grateful, you nugget. And Master's Blessing number 2. Master has also decided that you get improved damage resistance, magic resistance, and immunity to poison. Be grateful, you nugget. Basically, the Fortify Armor rating is like 25. Resist Magic is 25%, and Resist Poison is 100% complete immunity. So he can't be poisoned. Whole bunch of fun stuff. Let's take a look at his skills. Obviously, he's still level 69, and I've got his experience bar in just the right spot to represent what it was in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, you may notice along the bottom of the screen, before I even talk about his destruction being at level 150, let's talk about the fact that he has 9,045 magicka, 36,920 HP, and 1,000 stamina. I took these values straight from his character from Final Fantasy XIV, where you have TP or stamina, it's always 1,000 no matter what. His health, being a tank, is extremely high because of his gear, and then his magicka is really high because Eorzea is a place with a bunch of magic, so here's Skyrim. He's got a shit ton of magic too. So I went ahead and just copied his values straight from Final Fantasy to his health, magicka, and stamina. That's going to make him very hard to kill. But that's the point. He's just here to kill bandits for a vacation, in quotations. Alright, that's his values there. Let's talk about his destruction. With Skyrim Community Uncapper, the highest level you can be is 150 in a skill tree. So at 150, with Ordinator perks, he has Destruction Mastery 1 and 2, which makes his destruction spells cost 50% less, and they're also 0.5% more powerful per level of destruction. So that's 75% more powerful because he's at level 150. Destruction dual casting, obviously, and then he's got harsh lessons, destruction projectiles, projectile spells interrupt targets that are casting a spell, does not work on massive targets. War of the Elements, you deal 40% more attack damage to targets that are taking damage from Burning Ground, Conflagration, Scorched Earth, Pyromancer Ascension, Electroconvulsions, or Hypothermia. The only one of those that actually matters is Hypothermia, because Kreed is specialized in ice magic. So he's got Force of Nature, elemental spells and effects are cost 30% less magicka when cast in favorable weather. For his frost spells, that's going to be during snowfall. So his spells are almost going to basically be free when it's snowing. And then he's got elemental specialization. He's specialized in frost, so his frost spells are 15% more powerful, and fire and shock will be 15% weaker, but he doesn't have any of those spells. Finally, he's got 2 levels of Merciless Cold. Frost spells and effects cast on others are up to 30% more powerful based on the target's missing stamina percentage. Frost Fall. Frost spells reduce the attack damage of their targets by 25% for 5 seconds. Crystallize. Frost spells freeze the blood of their targets, halting stamina regen for 5 seconds. If the target is not resistant to frost, frost spells also reduce armor by 125 points for 5 seconds. So unless they have frost resistance, they lose a massive amount of their armor when hit by an ice spell. So if the first, frost spear doesn't kill them, the second one will, or frost javelin, the second one will. Iced Earth. Dual casting frost spells freezes the earth under your feet. Frozen Ground deals 40 points of damage per second to health and stamina for 4 seconds on contact. Frost spells and effects are 50% more powerful against affected targets. So when he dual casts Frosty Sphere, it creates a bit of frozen ground underneath him. The radius isn't very big, but if he's walking backwards and casts it, he can get people to walk through it, if they survive being hit by it, that is. Shatter. Frost spells that hit a frost-resistant target fragment and explode in a 15-foot area, reducing frost resistance by 25% for 10 seconds, and this effect stacks. Oh yeah. Hypothermia, which is the one that the War of the Elements was talking about. Frost spells paralyze living targets below 25% health if they are not frost resistant. So basically everything but Nords will be paralyzed once they drop below 25% health if they don't die instantly. Exhaust. Frost spells and effects drain 50% more stamina. Winter's Majesty. You radiate freezing cold, reducing the frost resistance of enemies within 25 feet by 50%. This penalty is applied on top of Shatter. And then finally, Glacial Prison. Frost spells immobilize non-essential targets in a block of ice for 6 seconds, reducing their magic resistance by 25%. This effect has a 120 second cooldown, but killing a victim affected by glacial prison or hypothermia immediately ends the cooldown. So, yeah, just his destruction spells, he is a force to be reckoned with, and that's not even the end of this discussion. Let's go on to heavy armor. As you may have noticed, all of his other skills that he's not going to be using are 0, simply because he doesn't have any training in restoration magic or alteration magic or enchanting stuff or smithing. The guy's a bartender, so he would not know about any of that stuff anyways. Alright, heavy armor. It's also level 151, if you believe that there. He has 2 points into heavy armor mastery. Armor rating of heavy armor is increased by 40%. You gain a small amount of heavy armor experience when wearing at least 2 pieces of heavy armor in combat. Very neat. Heavy armor fit. Heavy armor rating is increased by 25% if wearing all heavy armor, which he is. Even the circlet's listed as heavy armor. That's why it's custom. Yay! Cushioned, 2 of 2. He takes no falling damage when wearing all heavy armor. Battle weary. Tired enemies have a harder time defeating your armor. You take up to 20% less attack damage from enemies with half or less remaining stamina if wearing all heavy armor. The lower their stamina, the less damage you take. Now I'm just going to go up the left tree and then go up the right tree because holy crap, there's a lot of perks. Born to fight. Heavy armor weighs half as much and slows you down half as much when worn. Break upon me. You are immune to basic melee perks. Clash of Champions, Heroes, Denting, Crushing Blows, Bleed Like a Lamb, Dog, and Bite Marks. If wearing all heavy armor, you take 10% less damage from enemies affected by one or more of these perks. Reap the Whirlwind. When struck by a power attack or power bash, your attacks deal 125% more damage to the attacker for 5 seconds if you're wearing all heavy armor. Rise above. If wearing all heavy armor, you intimidate enemies within 15 feet. They lose 5% attack damage and you gain 5% attack damage for every enemy affected. Primal Fear. If wearing all heavy armor, walking but not running towards living enemies within 30 feet in front of you may break their confidence, causing them to flee for 8 seconds. That's just beastly. Sovereign. When struck by an attack, subsequent attacks are deflected if wearing all heavy armor. You take 75% reduced damage from attacks for 1 second. So the first time I get hit, I take 75% less damage after that for 1 second. Which, if I'm getting attacked by a lot of people, is a lot of damage reduction. And then finally, Face of the Mountain. When struck by a power attack or power bash, the attacker's strike rebounds forcibly as if striking solid rock, staggering them and potentially knocking them to the ground if wearing all heavy armor. So basically, if that first attack is a power attack, they get knocked to the ground and all the other enemies deal less damage to me. It's this Ordinator perks. They make you extremely overpowered, but they take forever to unlock. Alright, next. Face of Death. You no longer need to wear a helmet to benefit from the perks of wearing all heavy armor. If you're not wearing a helmet, heavy armor pieces have a 20% increased damage rating, or armor rating. I got this just in case something screwy happened and it didn't count the circlet as being heavy armor, even though I have it listed as heavy armor. Defiance, which, hey, is a skill from Final Fantasy. You are trained to deflect incoming attacks while wearing all heavy armor. Whenever an enemy attacks you, you gain 15 points of armor rating for 10 seconds. This effect stacks. Yeah, so every time I get hit, I gain 15 armor rating for 10 seconds. So in the span of 10 seconds, if I'm attacked 400 and something times, my armor rating is going to skyrocket by thousands of points. Revel in battle. Defiance also increases melee weapon damage by 3% for 10 seconds. This effect stacks. So again, if I'm attacked 400 something times in 10 seconds, I'll have like 1,200 extra percent damage for that duration. You know, the fun stuff. Never kneel. If wearing all heavy armor, take 30% less attack damage from power attacks. Bedrock. If wearing all heavy armor, you have 20% chance to brace for impact when attacked by an enemy, becoming immune to stagger for 4 seconds. Out of the Inferno, incoming fire, frost, and shock damage is reduced by 0.02% per point of armor if wearing all heavy armor. So he's got... Oh, I didn't even check his armor rating. But basically he takes a lot less fire and shock damage. Remember, he's completely immune to frost damage. And then Immortal. If wearing all heavy armor, takes 75% less damage from attacks below 15%, or 20% if affected by Rallying Standard, which he doesn't even have anything from that tree. So, once he drops below 15% health, he'll take 75% less damage from attacks. Which, 15% of 36,000 is still a lot of HP, and is still more HP than your average bandit has. So they're pretty much fucked the second they start to attack him. Block is at 50, because he's just going to be using his two-handed sword to block attacks. He's got 2 perks of block mastery, power bash, able to do a power bash while holding down attack while blocking, and then Skull Rattler. Bashing deals 3% more damage per point of stamina. And then I plan to get Mocking Blow should he level up and have the ability to buy it. Power bashing with a weapon infuriates targets for 30 seconds. They won't flee, but can't regenerate stamina. Lose 15 points of stamina per second, and you take no damage from their attacks during a timed block, which he doesn't have. So it's nothing to worry about. Let's skip two-handed for now and talk about speech. This is the only other tree that he has skill in, and he has 1 perk of speech mastery, which means he sells items for 10% more, and his intimidation attempts are twice as likely to succeed. That's it. That's all he has in speech. Alright, to two-handed. I'm going to go up the left tree, then go up the middle tree, then go up the right tree. Start at the beginning. Two-handed mastery. Two-handed weapons deal 50% more damage, and critical strikes with two-handed weapons do 2% more critical damage per level of two-handed, which, since it caps at 150, he does 300% more crit damage. And his guillotine sword, which I forgot to mention, has a... let's see, if its base attack was 100, so its critical attack is 50, if I remember correctly. So it does a lot more damage per crit. Trained Fighter reduces stamina cost of power attacks by 20 points. Death or Glory. Two-handed power attacks deal up to 100% more damage below half health. The damage bonus increases as your health decreases. I did not get him Wolfkin, which summoned a familiar or whatever he attacked, and that's not something Kreed has the ability to do. Clash of Heroes, 3 out of 3. Attacks with great swords reduce the target's attack damage by 25% for 3 seconds. Beastly. Maul, 2 out of 2. Power attacks with the great sword destabilize a target, increasing the damage of your regular attacks by 50% for 5 seconds. Breach the Wall. Forward power attacks with a great sword that leave the target above 60% health deal enough additional damage to make up the difference. So basically, if I hit a target with, a power attack, and they somehow manage to survive with like 62% of their health, this will cut off that extra 2% and put them at 60% health left. I don't know how the hell they'd survive, but if they do, it'll take them down to 60. Subjugate. Sideways power attacks with greatsword hits all enemies in front of me, lowering their attack speed by 50% for 10 seconds. The effect has a 20-second cooldown per target. Humiliate. Standing power attacks with the greatsword fatigue a target, draining 150 points of magicka and stamina and halting regeneration for 5 seconds. Overthrow. Bashing with the greatsword to interrupt an attack before it hits allows you to follow up with a power attack within 2 seconds to deliver a critical strike that deals 3 times critical damage and disarms them. So essentially, if I bash with my greatsword when an enemy is attacking me, causing them to be interrupted, I can then power attack and kill the shit out of them. And if they somehow manage to live, their weapon goes flying across the map. And Slayer of 1,000 Suns. In combat, two-handed weapons deal 5% more damage for each human or animal that you have slain in the previous battle, up to 40%. So basically, if I wipe out an entire bandit cave in one go, and then go to the next one, I'll deal way more damage starting off. So it might be beneficial for me to just pull the entire map on the first go. And finally, the last tree of the two-handed skill tree. Last branch. Ferocious strength. Power attack damage with two-handed weapons is increased by 15% plus 0.1% per point of stamina. Unlocks decapitations. Ramming speed. Can perform a two-handed sprinting power attack that deals up to 50% more damage and critical damage to a target above half health. The higher its remaining health percentage, the more damage and critical damage is dealt. Damn. Massacre. In combat, swinging a two-handed weapon has a 10% chance to increase attack speed by 175%. For 3 seconds. Bear hide. You take half damage from enemy attacks while power attacking. Enter the arena. Massacre always activates when you take your first two-handed swing in combat. This effect has a 30-second cooldown. And then finally, my favorite of all of these perks, all of them. In combat, swinging a two-handed weapon has a 4% chance to activate your currently equipped power. That's going to be Frost Nova. So there's a 4% chance every time he attacks to cause Frost Nova to just activate and start wiping the floor with the rest of them. Oh yeah. Oh man. I'm so excited. Like, oh hey, the ground is frozen under my feet from where I cast that two-handed spell. Sweet. Alright. There's also a few mod configurations that I gotta talk about. Better fast travel. I've got fast travel disabled, and I've got the no weight limit checked so that I can use ships and carriages. Even if I'm over encumbered, it really shouldn't become a problem. Let's see. I've got Hunterborn active, so if, I encounter some wolves or something, I'm not going to be able to just take the skin off of them and keep running. I should never have a point in time where I stop and I'm like, oh, I'm going to carve some skin off of these mammoth things, unless it severely pisses me off, and then I will take the time to tear its skin off. I might not do it in one piece, but oh hell, I'll try. I've got the hunger, thirst, and fatigue rates set to 1. Automated eating and drinking is active. What else? No salt requirements for cooking food, so he will have to eat as he goes on. Food spoilage and food removal are both active, so he's not going to find food out in the wild. He's going to have to buy it from vendors. Combat also increases need. It raises it to 2 during combat, so he'll get more tired and get hungry and so on. That's just for a funsies thing for me. Gotta exit all the way out and go back in, because I need is stupid. Timing is everything. This is a big one. I have the majority of all of the scripted quest starts that depend on your level to happen way after, like at level 100 kind of thing. Also, days between dragon attacks is set to 3, with a 10% chance of a dragon attacking him. Essentially, there's not going to be any random Daedric quests, the Hearthfire quest, all that weird dumb stuff, including the Daedric quest. They're not going to activate on their own. It's going to take a very long time before they bother me. The vampire attacks I'm okay with because they're an enemy that just appears on its own. So level 8, level 25, or 25% chance, it doesn't really matter. Those are fine. Gotta exit all the way out again because that one's a dumb one too. And then find trade and barter. I've got custom barter rates, min, max, you know, normal stuff. And then the merchants have a medium variability, which means they have between 50 and 4,250 more gold based on lore and location, so on and so forth. And the gold fluctuates between the minimum and the maximum, somewhere in there. Also, their inventory custom respawns each day, because who wouldn't have different inventory each day? It's silly that you have to wait 2 days in Skyrim. It's like, really? Why? That's so silly. And then finally, World's Dawn. I have it activated so that NPCs and containers will have enchanted or tempered items. This will be interesting because when I'm fighting, enemies will have enchanted gear or enchanted weapons and be more difficult than they normally are, which could cause him to actually have to hit something more than once. He also has, oh wow, 139 attribute points. I should probably put those into something, but also maybe not. The bonuses that he gets from World's Dawn are with strength, down there at the bottom. Pause if you need to read it. Endurance, agility, dexterity, intellect, wisdom, and personality. Alright, I put enough of a pause in there so you could pause it and read that if you need to. My voice is starting to hurt, so this is pretty much where I'm going to call it. That's everything to talk about. Yeah. There's not much else to say. That is the entirety of everything. Oh, right, his armor rating is 519, and his carry weight's 500. He also has no gold, because why would he have septums if he just woke up here? They're not going to take his Final Fantasy gil or his, you know, real world American dollars or whatever the hell they use in WoW. They're not going to accept any of that. So, yeah. Alright. That's it. That's all the mods. That's all the things I set up for. The next episode will be the actual combat and all that fun stuff. So, yeah. Thanks for putting up with me if you made it this far.
Thank you all for watching, peeps. If you liked the video, please click that like button, and if you want to see more content from me, your host, 19, be sure to click that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!